Students, today will we discuss about Bacon's contribution to the development of the English essay. Francis Bacon was the first man to write essays in England and can be fairly called the father of English essay. There was no writer in England before Bacon who wrote objective essays. No doubt Nash wrote some articles which can be called essays, but his writings were very much different in nature and composition from those of Bacon. Neither did Nash conceive of himself as introducing a new form of writing in English literature. The forerunners of the character writers also cannot be called essayists in the true sense because they were too uniform and non-literary. First, the three editions of Bacon's essays. Bacon's essays were published in three editions. They were first published in a small volume in 1597. It contained only 10 essays. The second edition of essays was published in 1612. This edition contained 38 essays. The earlier ones being carefully revised, the third and final edition came out in 1625. It was a much augmented edition and the number of the essay was increased to 58. Next, the influence of Montague on Bacon. Bacon borrowed the form of the essay from Montague, the Frenchman whose essays first appeared in French in 1580. And the first English translations of his essays was made by John Florio in 1603. Bacon, however, used the word essay in its basic sense of an essay or test, trial, or attempt. His primary intention in writing the essay was to try out his thoughts on particular topics, and it was to some extent accidental that what began as a kind of notebook turned into a set of miniature masterpieces. Next, difference between Bacon and Montague. Though Bacon took the form of the essay from Montaigne, he filled it with material drawn from his own mind. There is a great difference between the secluded French writer, once a courtier and perhaps a soldier, but now turned a spectator of life and its shrewd critic, and a great and power-seeking English lawyer and statesman. With one eye concentrated upon philosophic truth and the other watching the political activities of his age. Next, Bacon's morality. Bacon's essays, according to the nature of the subject dealt in them, can be divided into three broad classes: moral and religious, domestic and political. In all these types of essay, he comes before the reader not to the character of scientist or philosopher, but as a man of world. In his reflection on public policy, he was influenced by his age. Also, and his essays possesses something of the some hardness and disregard and moral consideration which was very common in the age following that of Machiavelli and his second principle. Bacon himself was strongly imbued with Machiavellism. He was under no illusions about the ordinary motives of man, and he thought that we are much beholden to Machiavelli and others. Next है domestic essays. We gather the same impressions when the read those essays of Bacon in which he deals with the domestic relations and the special ties of love and friendship between human beings. He expresses the same utilitarian philosophy in the essay of friendship. He is not moved by the feelings of love and affection existing between friends. On the contrary, he values friendship highly, mainly for the advantage gained from it, comfort, the emotions led to the understanding, and aid in the affairs of life. Next है Bacon's attitude towards religions. Bacon's attitude towards the religion is also of the same practical nature and is destitute of fervor. It has its root in the brain, while the religion of saints and martyrs has its root in the heart. In the essay of Atheism, he acknowledges very sincerely, I had rather believe all the fables in the legend and the Talmud and the Alcorane than that this universal frame is without a mind. But he would never have been greatly vexed if, as Walker thinks, circumstances had forced him to make a contrary statement. In the essay of Unity of Religion, he views religions as the chief bond of human society, and his main concern is to determine how it can be made most useful in that capacity. Next है political essays. Bacon is more at home in his role of statesman, and therefore whenever he can, he turns from the private and personal to the political aspect of the questions he is dealing with. These political essays of Bacon are in many ways his best, and his wisdom is shown in them to its best advantage. The essay of Plantation is the best of this type, and the soundness and validity of the principle enumerated in it have been established by the experience of century. Next is Bacon's prose style. Bacon not only introduced a new literary form in English, he also rendered a considerable service to the development of English prose style. English prose before Bacon, or even in his own time, was rich and sonorous. The two great writers of the age of Bacon were Hooker and Riley. Richard Hooker, whose last work, Ecclesiastical Polity, was published in 1597, still remains as one of the greatest stylists in English. Riley also was a great writer and had written several things before 1597, though his History of the World did not come out till 7 years later. But while these writers have majesty and strength, while in their house of inspirations, they were able to write as few have written since. While Riley's apostrophe to death remains absolutely unsurpassed, which prose must subserve. Next are demerits of Bacon's style. There are few demerits in the style of Bacon. The first and the foremost is that his language is largely permitted with Latinism. His essays have a fair sprinkling of Latin quotations. And he frequently quotes from his favorite Latin authors to prove his argument. He had a special liking for Latin and thought though wrongly that he would be remembered by his writings in Latin. Bacon's style lacks the musical quality of the best prose writers of the age. In the words of George Sanctuary, his sentences indeed do not attend to the extraordinary music which is seen in the sum of Brooke and Dunn, which is not wanting in Burton, which is the glory of Sir Thomas Browne. The saving grace of Milton's best prose and almost over lavished and sometimes flattered every charm of Jeremy Taylor. Bacon's style also lacks the spontaneous and personal note of Montague, Steely Lamb, and Robert Lane. It is the result of labor and conscious art. As Hugh Walker said, Bacon is too stately and his thought is too profound to permit us to speak of the essay as the confidential chat of a great philosopher. What in them he comes as near as his nature would permit. The main qualities of Bacon's style in his essay are terseness of expressions and epigrammatic virility. He excelled very ancient and modern writer, except perhaps Tacitus and Aristotle.